Hey guys, Kevin from Evolution Images, and in today's video, we're going to take a look at the Generative Fill function that's now available in Adobe Photoshop Beta. If you don't have the beta version of Photoshop installed, but you do have Creative Cloud, what you can do is go to your Creative Cloud, and on the left-hand menu, select your beta apps, and then install Photoshop Beta from this menu. Once you've got that done, you're going to be good to go to use Generative Fill. So here we are, guys. We have a couple images that I've already pre-selected for use in the Generative Fill function, and I'm going to take a look at this first image. This is an image of Tybee Island Pier. Took this last weekend down in Georgia, and I really liked the way it turned out. It was a long exposure image, so I had a shutter speed of I think around 6 seconds for this, and the waves were coming in underneath the pier, and it looks really nice. What I would like to see is a little bit of extra water and maybe some more sky. So I'm going to try to use this generative fill function to fill that in, and we'll see what we get. Okay, so the first thing I want to do with this photo is I'm going to go ahead and expand it using the crop function. So I'll select my crop tool, and I'm going to click and drag this out a little bit. I'm going to actually not do too much, just a little bit, kind of follow my rule of thirds. I like where the end of the pier sits right on that line, and the ocean line is right there. So I think that's pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and select that as a crop, and we're going to let Photoshop do its thing. All right, so we've got the crop we want. I'll go ahead and zoom this in a little bit. So now what we want to do is we want to select the areas that are transparent right now, or where there's actually no image. And so in order to do that, I'm going to come up here on the left hand side and select my marquee tool. And with my marquee tool selected, I'm going to go ahead and select a portion on the left hand side of the image, and I'm making sure that I get some overlap here. So some of this is overlapping onto the image itself, and that's what we want, because we want the computer to be able to select from these pixels to generate the new part of this image. Holding down the Shift key, I'm going to click and drag the bottom portion, highlight the bottom portion, and that's going to combine those two portions. So now I have one selection, and I'm going to do that one more time on the right hand side, and now I have an entire selected area that it's going to fill from these pixels. So we're going to go ahead and click Generative Fill, and when we do that, we then get this box that opens that says describe what you'd like to generate. We're not going to describe anything. We're going to go ahead and let it do its thing. So I'm going to hit generate, and it's going to go out to the cloud, and it's going to work its magic. All right, there, it's all finished, and wow, it looks pretty amazing. I really like the fact that it filled in the area with shadow from the pier, and it looks pretty flawless to me. I'm going to click the zoom button and go ahead and blow up the bottom portion of this image, and yeah, it's hard for me to even be able to tell what was there before and what's there now, to distinguish between the two, really. I'm sure experts could probably tell, but you know, I am not able to see the difference there. So if we look over on the bottom right here, you'll see that it generated a new layer, and it created a mask for it. So I've got this generative fill layer, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click that off for a second, and we'll give it a second to look. And so there's the original, and there's what it generated. So I mean, really, I think it did a really pretty good job. So also, if you look over here, you have 3 variations, so we can cycle through those just by clicking them. And there's a different variation. Click the last one just to see. And wow, that one might be my favorite. So I would probably just stick with that. That looks really good. The shadows are lined up. It did a really good job filling. Looking at the sky looks pretty good too. So I'm pretty happy with what I see there. So one other thing that I'd like to do is use Generative Fill to maybe expand a portrait image. Take an image that was shot in portrait orientation and convert it over to landscape. So let's go ahead and do that. So I have this image of this couple that I shot at Parker Dam just a couple weeks ago, and I'm gonna zoom out a little bit. We're gonna go up and select the crop tool and click and drag the corner till we get the landscape orientation, and let's move them into right about that rule of thirds. So the vertical rule of thirds, got them on that first line, first third line. So we've got two sections that we have to fill. I'm going to say, okay, let's crop that there. Let's zoom in a little bit bigger, and we're going to do the same thing we did before. So we're going to come up to the left hand side, we're going to select the marquee tool, and we're going to go ahead and make the selection on the left, and again overlapping a little bit. You know what, we're going to go a little bit further this time, not quite up to that tree trunk. We'll select that spot, and then on the right hand side we're going to hold the shift key down, and we're going to make our second selection, and now we have both sides selected. And there are other ways to do this. There's an invert tool. You could have selected the inside of the image and click the invert tool here on the toolbar, and it would have done the same thing. All personal preference. I'm going to leave this blank again. Go ahead and click generate. Let it do its thing. And wow, it did a really good job just on the first pass. I'm really impressed with this. I think this is quite amazing. You know, all of this information is just computer generated, and it really looks like this is a believable spot. Look at how it worked on this lower right hand corner of the image. That whole part of that tree wasn't in the image, but it decided that's what it was going to look like. If you look at that, it's really hard to tell. Now you can see some blur when you really zoom in. You can see some blurry spots in it, but otherwise, from a distance, I mean, that looks pretty good. I mean, that's an image that I would keep, maybe do some further edits in Photoshop, but overall, that is really good. And again, there's a couple different variations of this that we could select from. I mean, wow, there's another one that's really good. Quite amazing tool. Here's the third variation. And in that one, boy, it just made the tree really big. So maybe if you're in California and you're looking at sequoia, that could be it. But I really think maybe the second or the first one is probably one of my favorites. I think that one might be my favorite, the middle one. So I would probably just stay with that. All right, let's take a look at the third one. This is an image of Mount St. Helens in Washington. We're going to go ahead and select the crop tool. We're going to expand out just a little bit. And I think this time what we'll do is we're going to go ahead and use that invert. So I'm going to select the marquee tool, and I'm going to select the interior portion of this image, leaving some pixels on the outside. And we're going to click the invert tool, and now we have the outside selected. We'll hit Generative Fill and generate. And there you go. There's what it did, and that looks pretty amazing actually. So again, it filled in a lot of the information that wasn't there in the image. It turned the little dirt path, it expanded it, straightened it out actually. A couple different variations of the same thing. There's another good looking one, and finally a third one. So I think I actually might like the second one best. So there are other things that you can do with this tool. For example, if I wanted to put something in the foreground of this image, like let's say we wanted to put some shimmering water in here. So here what we'll do is we'll select the lasso tool, and coming back down into the full image, I'm going to just select a big portion of the bottom of this, and we're we're going to use that to generate some fill. We're going to hit Generative Fill, and here we're going to put, let's put mirror reflection water, and we'll hit generate. And after thinking for a few seconds, it did generate some reflective water. Doesn't really look like I want it to. Yeah, I don't like that. Okay, we won't do that. Alright guys, well there you have it. There's the final image, and I think it looks really good. Generative Fill did a great job of determining what it should add to the photo to make it complete. Again, we can shut that layer off and take a look at the original image and what the AI did for this image. I think it's going to be a pretty awesome tool. So looking forward to seeing it integrated into the actual Photoshop application. So we'll be seeing that pretty soon. Hey guys, thanks for watching this video. If you like what you saw, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and give us a thumbs up. I'd also like to hear if you have any suggestions for future videos, leave them in the comments below.